too dark. Hey, I'm DJ Eshelman. I am the Citrix coach, and this is what I'm tentatively calling Citrix coach in a car, getting his chiropractor, and then going to get coffee. And if I think of anything else that starts with C, I'll let you know. But for now, let's get started. Okay, so today we are talking about consulting, but tomorrow I'm going to be doing a presentation I'm calling, actually I don't know if I have the official title yet, but or correct, but it's basically 12 secrets of Citrix consultants, the things that they're looking for when doing health checks, that sort of thing. It's based on mostly my experiences, but a lot of collective input as well, as far as consulting engagements, health checks, assessments, that sort of thing, involving Citrix for me over the last 3 years. I've been, doing these things and compiling the results from them, and 350 or so recommendations that were kind of in scope. And so I just found the patterns that were emerging the most out of these, kind of throughout the ones that were just one-off, just proprietary things, and basically found a bunch of patterns that emerged, and basically just chose the top 12 themes that I saw. There was several recommendations within all these. Obviously, it's not just a simple thing, but that is what the presentation is. If you miss it, it's okay. Not only will there be replays, but better yet, there's actually going to be a kind of a reprise of a bigger presentation I've done on this. It's about a 2.5-hour masterclass. You can register for it now. It'll be beginning in April is when it'll begin playing back again. But that will be ctxpro.com/dirtydozen, and you'll be able to register for any of those playback sessions that are happening during that time, and there'll be some additional fun things to look for that week as well. Really looking forward to it. I don't want to spill the beans just yet, but it'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, so this all inspired a conversation in my head about, okay, well, what do people know about consulting? What do they don't know? Because sometimes when there's a consultant like myself that comes in and does like an assessment or a design or something like that, it can be a little mysterious, a little bit weird, because in maybe your world, you're working in a environment, and you're kind of there from 9 to 5 or whatever the time is, and that's what it's supposed to be anyway. It's probably more like 8 to 10 p.m. These kind of things happen. So this person that comes in, and you've never met them before, and all of a sudden they're telling you all this stuff about what you need to be doing with your life, and, well, maybe not your life, but you know what I mean, about your Citrix environment. And so I thought I'd give you some perspective about what it's like being a consultant, and even some different methods of consulting as far as like how you can make it a career and that sort of thing. So the first and most common that people see in the Citrix world anyway, I think, is actually dealing with Citrix Consulting Services, or CCS, or just services, whatever. And this is actually the world that I have spent the most time in, either as a resident consultant or as an ad hoc resource with them. And so I can speak very well to this, especially, but there's other consulting organizations as well. But as far as it goes that have a worldwide presence in the Citrix market, I would say CCS is probably one of the biggest and most focused. And so these are people that have sometimes come up straight out of college and been brought up into this world and focused and learned how to do consulting really, really well by being part of an entire team that is doing this. And so that is where a lot of these people are. So most of the time, there are people that are traveling for work most weeks, actually. At least the majority of consulting takes place at an office. There's a lot more remote work these days, just because travel has become expensive and isn't always as necessary. But for the bulk of it, I would say it's still, if you were to be a part of a consulting organization like that, you're trading a very stable kind of employment situation for one where you're having to travel a lot. But the benefit here is that you're able to see a lot more of the world and get experiences that are very much wider than you would in just a regional area that you were focused in. So there's some benefits there, and some great ways that I myself have learned a great deal by all the travel that I've done. I've actually done consulting jobs in almost every single state in the Union of the U.S., and some in Canada, Brazil, that sort of thing. So it has been a great experience for me. I wouldn't trade it. It's been beneficial, and that kind of leads me to my second way you can be a part of a consulting organization like that, which is to be essentially either a person that is working for another company that's being subbed out to a consulting organization, or somebody like me that's actually doing kind of a blend. I'll either be a badged employee or as a actual independent consultant that is also doing this work as kind of that, you could say white labeled services, where it's just you are not lying about anything. It's kind of this weird gray area where you're representing a company, but you're not necessarily calling yourself an employee necessarily, but you are, with their, email address and that sort of thing. So it can be a little confusing at times, but ultimately, yeah, you're still a independent consultant as far as that, which basically means you're trading that stability for the ability to say no. So you can more actively decide not to work, which is actually for me been one of the things that were most appealing for my way of doing things. I like to have the ability to put a pause on consulting work and work on other projects, that sort of thing. That is appealing to me. It also has some potential, if you do it right, there's actually some financial benefits as well. In my life, it's been really cool because I've been able to have these trade-offs of stability, but also being smart about money and saving up and either investing it in the right areas or saving to buy things like this car. I mean, I bought this pretty much with cash, just kind of had it up front and just kind of used it as a way to build my credit for buying a house, actually, which also was able to do a pretty massive down payment on, just from being smart with the money and that sort of thing. So that's kind of a tangent, but that is something where if you have somebody that's there as a independent consultant, that's something that's probably on their mind about that. Now, there's something cool about that, and that is that if you have somebody that's serving in that capacity, a lot of the time they're very much aware of needing to do a good job, so you get a good referral, that sort of thing. It actually can help them be able to charge more or just have more work because they're known as being reliable. So actually, a lot of people think that being an independent consultant or hiring one is a bad thing, but the reality is they're probably going to do a better job for you in a lot of cases because they are so motivated to do so. And then there's a third kind of category of consulting, that is when you have somebody that's working with a reseller. And they usually have a few different motivations and a few different benefits. They may not always have as wide an array of experience, but a lot of times they'll be more in tune to what your needs are because they're in a longer term relationship with you. I mean, for me being a traveling consultant, I may go to one company one week and then, so I'm there like Monday to Thursday, and then the very next Monday to Thursday, I'm at another place entirely in a different state other side of the country sometimes. And so it's not really a relationship at that point. It's more of just the single scope of work. Whereas somebody that is working with a reseller can not only do a scope of work, but can also be kind of a longer pace as well. And so they're able to work with you over a longer period of time, so you're not having to condense and get everything done right so rapidly, which for a lot of organizations can actually be a big challenge as far as working with a professional consulting company, because there's such a demand on getting it done so quickly. A lot of times with the way workflows go these days, it's actually not always beneficial to try and work like that. Sometimes being able to space it out is more effective, and consultants that work for resellers are more easily adaptable to do that, because they are kind of balancing a lot of tasks. And so people like that, like I said, they're very motivated a lot of times by the relationship and kind of having that ongoing thing with you. They're also really good multitaskers most of the time, because they usually have a lot of different projects going at once that are kind of on their mind and things like that. So it's a balancing act. But the nice thing about consulting when you're with a reseller is that you get an interesting balance between a lot of times between the consulting style work and just build out work, and a lot of times there's pre-sales work involved and things like that. So you get a lot of more variety when you're working in that kind of a capacity. So yeah, so those are kind of three major ways that you can have consultants working with you and your staff. There's some other things too that I didn't mention, like staff augmentation and managed services and remote support and things like that, but I'll leave that to another discussion. I mostly just wanted to give a perspective of what a consultant's life can be like. Yeah, so hopefully that was not a waste of time for you, but beneficial. And I hope to see you in like that presentation I mentioned, the Dirty Dozen, the 12 big secrets for Citrix Consulting people like myself that, I just want to share with you, so you don't have to have those things just being a mystery to you, so you can actually address some of these big things, so that when a consultant is there, they're only there to hit the things that are really more complicated and hidden and kind of deep in, and they're not telling you to fix the easy things first, so you can get on with the troubleshooting, that sort of thing. So hopefully it helps. ctxpro.com/Dirty Dozen is how to register for that Dirty Dozen webinar coming up in April. Hope to see you out there, and I'll see you again hopefully next week for whatever we're calling this, Citrix coach in a car, going to the chiropractor and then getting coffee, or whatever we call it. Cheers.